Hi, I'm Smith-Dixon, and I'm excited for a few minutes to be transparent for transformational purposes. It was about 2016, and I'd flown to Wisconsin for a national conference. I'd been away from home for several nights. I was very tired and fatigued. I'm flying back into the Atlanta area. Go Falcons, right? I'm flying back into the Atlanta area, and I notice that the plane is descending upon the city, but it's just hovering. Eventually, the pilot comes on and he makes an announcement to the passengers, and it's the type of announcement that no one ever wants to hear. He says, "We have a problem." He said, "We don't have enough fuel to hover around the city and wait our turn to land." He said, "So it's necessary for me to redirect this flight to Charleston, South Carolina. I'm going to go to Charleston, refuel, and bring you back to Atlanta." Now, as you might imagine, I became not only fatigued, but very frustrated in this process. I began to second guess the expertise of the pilot because I wondered, how could you as a pilot not know how much fuel it would take to get us from Wisconsin to Atlanta? But then I began to recognize it's hard for the pilot to plan for the baggage of others he's carrying, especially when people are trying to carry baggage from one location that really should have never left that location. I also realized that you just sometimes have to trust the plan of the pilot who has been assigned to your life in this season, knowing that sometimes that pilot has access to information that you may not have access to. So we journeyed to Charleston, South Carolina, which is my home. It's my stumping state. We're coming back to Atlanta, and as we are approaching Atlanta again, I remember sitting there and looking out of the window and wondering, God, I petitioned you to just let me land on my feet. You could refuel this plane later. I just wanted to land on my feet and go home. But God loved me so much, he revealed, Zell, I didn't want to land you on your feet. I'm getting ready to launch you in the deep. I'm getting ready to launch you into the biggest season of your life, that I will demand of you to carry more in this season than all of the other seasons put together. You see, I was failing to see the new destiny because I was too familiar with the destination. Sometimes God does a new thing right where you are, but you fail to see it because you are so familiar with the place that he's doing it in. Furthermore, I began to recognize that God was trying to launch me into the deep, into a new season in a place that I was already familiar with. I was begging, I was petitioning God to go into a new season with fumes from my last season because I certainly didn't have the fuel. And so sometimes God loves us so much that he does not answer our petitions because they don't align with his will for our lives. Jeremiah says that, God, I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So I'm speaking to the heart of that person this morning who feels like, you know what, my life has been one big redirection. I was approaching the destination that I thought I wanted to get to, and all of a sudden I recognized I couldn't land. It wasn't my turn to land in this season. I had to get redirected. Just know that sometimes that process is necessary. My redirection wasn't punishment, it was providence. And it was God's opportunity to make sure that when he pushed me into the best season of my life, that I would go into that season ready, that I would go into that season fuel for the launch ahead. And so I've just learned through this process that sometimes you've got to thank him for the doors that stay shut. Sometimes you have to thank him for the windows that didn't open. Sometimes you have to thank him for the redirection, because it's through the process of being redirected that sometimes he fills you up, right? He fills your cup for the launch ahead. Be blessed, my brothers and my sisters.